Okay, so good morning and welcome to today's webinar on expanding into the French market. So I'm Emma from Briars. I've spent sort of 15 or so years helping businesses to navigate into new jurisdictions. France, of course, being one of them. And I am joined today by Matthias from Everway. Matthias, do you want to do an introduction?
Yeah, just quickly, I'm an HR expert in more than 10 years, very aware of the difficulties of issues we can face in terms of HR compliance in France and any related issue to HR sector.
Fantastic, fantastic. So we have a number of different elements that we're going to cover today. The contents are being France, of course, being a strategic gateway to Europe. We're also going to focus on recent changes and trends that we've seen. Choosing the right location, super important. We're going to highlight the sort of overview of entity structures and hiring options, focus on HR, payroll and compliance must-knows, also about a bit about culture, also a bit about staying operationally lean, residency and visa options, common pitfalls to avoid, and then just a really short Q&A at the end.
Lovely.
Fantastic. So Matthias, from our side, we see France. I mean, France has been and continues to be a really attractive destination choice for businesses. Perhaps you can just touch on why France is really still a strategic gateway to Europe.
So the main prejudice about France is thinking that with the social charges, which are really high, it's complicated to hire. The reality of this is business in France are very well treated, especially in the tech sector. You got many help from the government to help you getting a better financial situation, paying the employees and all these kind of things. So there are many helps. Just to give you a number, currently the state in France is spending 211 billion of euros each year for every companies with like startup, main group, all these kind of things. So this is the first element. Second element is we got skills that sometimes cannot be found, especially in the tech sector in other countries. So it's good to hire in this country.
Yeah.
And to especially in the tech sector or in the green energy sector, where definitely France is very involved in this energetic transition to move with wind farm projects and all these kind of elements we can find in our country.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much for that. And there's been lots of recent changes and trends recently in France. Could you sort of highlight a few that you really have noticed?
So the only issue in France is there is a lack of stability when it comes to labor laws. So many changes happen each year. Recently, we have some changes for the key talent visas that we can find, which are easier than the standard visa. We can talk about this later. So this kind of changes make the implementation of a company here directly from abroad kind of complex. But if you help, you're well guided.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's not that complicated. It's just a lot of follow-up, and that's it. So when you got the right person to help you, you're good to go.
Yeah, fantastic. And do you see that there are specific sectors that are really sort of coming into France more and more recently, or?
Definitely tech industry, especially with the emergence of AI. Also the industry project in the, the wind farm project, these kind of things. Like I just give you an example, Saipem had and still has this amazing project of wind farm in Normandy, in north of France. So it's a project of wind farm offshore. So it's really into the energy transition that Europe wants to follow and do and process. So I guess, yes, definitely like tech, green energy, AI, and biotech a bit, but this is not, I didn't receive any requests from this sector recently, just only in pharmaceutical, but it's just one contract. So it's not really representative for me currently.
Okay, really helpful, thank you. And so choosing the right location within France obviously is so important. Are there sort of sector hotspots, I suppose?
Yeah, it's important depending on which client or which site of production you need
Yeah.
to consider. So yes, of course, Paris is all about tech and finance. You got beautiful buildings there. So many companies like
Yes.
to set up their offices in Champs-Élysées, for example, where it's very expensive, but absolutely amazing. Like in the center of the world. So it depends on your activity, really. Industry is more about going uh, to other cities in Paris, other town like Marseille is a good example, Lyon, and even in south of France, you got like Toulouse for Airbus, for example, where you got the industry of airplanes. So depends which type of industry you're going in, and then you choose your location according to this industry.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. Thank you very much. And then in terms of the entity structures, there are a few options, aren't there? Could you just talk us through these, that and the sort of highlight the bits that you think might be helpful on each one?
Yeah. So so SS on, well, I will say it in English. Sorry, SAS first one is and SARL is about like you set up a company directly from scratch here
Yeah.
using
Okay.
an attorney or at least a very accounting firm which can do that. Some accounting can do that. It's not a subsidiary. Subsidiary would be to create just an entity from your headquarters, which is completely
Yes.
different.
Yeah.
SAS or SAR is about creating an entity which is completely independent. It's a French company. It's yours,
Yep.
but
Okay.
you don't have any foreign headquarters at the end of the day. You don't need to do that. So why not? And VOR, employment of record, is when you want to test the market. You want to test the waters at the end of the day. So you just say, okay, I'm going to onboard through an EOR, few employees, I see how it goes, and then maybe 1 or 2 years, I'm going to implement or set up my own entity and keep growing in this market. So it's completely different option. I think testing is better with EOR, but if you're sure of yourself, you can start using some local provider to create and set up your own entity. In this case, in my opinion, SAS is better than SARL because it gives you more option, especially
Okay.
for the legal representative.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you very much.
You're
And then
welcome.
in terms of the sort of the HR payroll compliance must knows, I know there will be so many more than what we're showing on the screen here, but we've just sort of highlighted a few here. If you could just sort of talk us through what's important for us to know.
So yes, 35 hours a week is the weekly pace in France. There are also some employees, what you call in English executive, in French we say cadre, that can work on a kind of daily basis. They work 218 18 days per year. So it's a different status. They don't respect the 45 hours per week, but like it's the two options we have.
Yeah.
So yes, we got many employment contract, open-ended contract, fixed type contract. You also have what we call assignment contract, open-ended contract, assignment oriented. So it's very well used in the oil and gas, wind farm project, industry project, construction project. Use that, and we start using this kind of contract in IT too, because uh, labor laws have become more flexible on this. So this
Yeah.
is what's called
Okay.
CDIC. Payroll requirement. Wow, you got a lot of details in a payroll, in a
Yes.
payslip. So you got many social charges from the employee side, employer side. You need to be sure that you got a payroll agency or payroll provider who can provide you the right declaration. Because
Yeah.
if you're wrong, you pay a fine. Whether it's
Yeah. Okay.
PSF, which is about social charges, whether it's about the tax income, you need to declare things correctly, or you're going to get a fine, and it can become very, very expensive. Compliance in
Mhm.
France is mandatory because if you're wrong, well, you're going to pay a lot of money, and it's very
Yeah.
unnecessary at the end of the day. For statutory benefits, just quickly, of course, paid leaves, healthcare, life insurance,
Hmm.
health insurance, paid leave, it's 5 weeks per year. And you got some additional days sometimes, which I call RTT, but it's very complex topic. I
Yes.
won't dive into it, just to give an idea. And yes, of course, you need a register office, and you need to be linked to the administration, which are social charges URSAF, it's called URSAF, and then what we call DGFIP, which
Yeah.
are the tax income administration. So you need that.
Perfect. Perfect. And then just on that, on the benefits piece, I know we've talked sort of very briefly about the statutory benefits.
Yeah.
There, as there are everywhere, there's the enhanced benefits. So anything in addition that they wanted to, you know, the company wants to, or the employee wants to have in addition to the statutory benefits. I'm assuming that is just a case by case basis, isn't it? You know, so depending on what the company wants and depending on what the employee wants.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can have many options. The employee can have a car, for example, for work, and it's
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
based on local declaration. You declare it, it's a gross amount, etc., etc. But many things can be done. Like, I mean, there are so many options, but
Yeah.
it's not mandatory. So, as
No,
you said,
that's
it's
it.
case by case discussion, and it's a part of the negotiation when you to bring a high talent in your company.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Um, okay, so in terms of the culture side of things, you know, it's really important, of course, for companies to understand the compliance side of things, but actually culture, you know, if it is, there are always going to be differences between two different markets, two different jurisdictions in terms of culture. You know, what sort of things would highlight from a culture perspective that companies should really know about before they enter into the French market?
So we're French, and no
Other
offense,
than the fact that you are great,
yeah,
obviously.
we're not English, so we have a slight different relation with work. So we like working, but we love having our time free to enjoy family and friends and all these kind of
Yeah.
things. So yes, we like to have a break, to have a real lunch, all these kind of things. So a standard day for an employee in France working 35 other weeks look like this. He or she arrives at 9, have a break around noon to have a lunch,
Yeah.
restart working at 1 and finish at 5. And most of the employees at 5 p.m. they're leaving.
Yeah.
So this is where you cannot pressure an employee because it's going to be bad. It can bring the infection of labor laws, and because it can go very badly
Yeah.
as an employer. On the other hand, there is also a lot of flexibility when it comes to working remotely. So now the employers have accepted that 2 days or 3 days a week, employees will work remotely, and it's part of the negotiation too, especially for the executives.
Yeah. Brilliant. Very helpful. Thank you.
Welcome.
So in terms of residency and visa options, obviously I know there are quite a lot of options. Do you find that any of these are the more common than others?
Yeah, more common as the second and what we call EU blue card. So all these visas, they go fast. You can have in 2 or 3 weeks the employee in France and getting an authorization for 4 years working with you. So it is the most easiest and the fastest, process to get an employee who is not only EU national here in France. Definitely. So this is the most request I have: talent passport, skilled employees, and which give you the authorization to EU blue card. So the
Yeah.
ICT is also an option. To be honest with you, with France, you got some official things like there is the entrepreneur startup visa, but it's difficult to get it because it's more interesting for the government to get an employee who is fully paid here and fully declared, because you got more social charges, meaning that the government will get more money at the end of the day.
Yes.
So it's less interesting with an entrepreneur who is not going to pay himself like right away.
Yeah, of
So
course.
it's more complex to get this kind of visa, but using a lawyer, I think it could be doable. I never did it myself, to be honest. I process more like EU blue card, ICT, or talent passport process.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, and then in terms of like common pitfalls, like things that you see quite often to avoid, you know, we see quite a lot of these when we're talking to clients. You know, what sort of things here would you highlight?
Well, I would really highlight about social charges and local and declaration you make to the administration. If you're wrong on this or if you forget, you're in so much trouble. Just to give you an example, I know a company which have paid 100K to the tax income because they forget something, which was
Really? Wow.
100K. They were
Yeah.
wrong on few things and it became 100K. Can you
Gosh.
imagine that? So
Wow.
they're still alive, I must say, but it was hard for them to recover from that.
Yeah.
So it is the most important is to be compliant with the employer obligation to declare each month to the authorities what needs to be declared. First element. Second one, it's less important, but it's still very important too, is the fact that every document must be in French.
Yes.
Contract, everything. You can sign a contract in English, but it has no legal value, so you need the equivalence in French.
And I think it's these things that highlight so much to us why, for clients to and companies to ensure that they're getting the right advice at the beginning, ensure they're planning early, understanding exactly what needs to happen is so important, isn't it? Because if you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, you're really in trouble because you're going to be controlled. Everything goes online now. So every administration is aware of what you declare. And if you're wrong, they come and control you. Well, you can say goodbye to your business because
Yes.
frankly, the amount required, the fine required can be really huge. Like I gave you the example of 100K, but frankly, it can be more. So it goes very fast.
Exactly. Okay, so just some of these questions that we get asked quite regularly. So, what is the fastest way to start hiring in France?
Well, whether you hire a French national or an EU national, then it goes very fast. It's just a
Yeah.
few days. You need like even 2 days before starting a contract, you can onboard somebody. So it's fine. There is nothing to worry about. It's nothing complex in this case. Subsidiary would be my advice if you really want
Yes.
to implement your company.
And
How
and
long
just
does it? Yeah, sorry.
sorry. No, I
No,
was going to say though, so with a branch, um, is my understanding that the parent company has to file their parent accounts
yeah.
with the French authorities, so they are available for the on public register or not.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the branch, as a foreigner, as this is France, you will need to use an attorney to help you, and they are very expensive. And probably you will have to come to France, so it's not it's not that easy. But there are ways to open a subsidiary which are easier than that, where you don't need any attorney. This is why I was advising that. So the duration of the entity setup depends on where you open it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's weird, but just to give you an example, we are close to Paris here, and if I want to open an entity, it's going to be longer than if I was directly in Paris.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because it depends of the what we call in French prefecture, which is the local administration,
Of
and if
course.
they're slow, well, it's unlucky. So it can take like 1 week to 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
Yes. Okay.
It's basically a
Interesting.
theory.
Interesting. Um, and then from what does a compliant payslip look like?
So there are many things which have to be considered. There is always the name of the employee. It's got the social security number on it. It's got its job title, and then you got one column for the social charges on the employer part, and also the employee's charges, which is another column. You got the net to pay before tax income, and then you got the net to pay after tax income. So what does the company do? The company keeps the money, I say it that way, because it's just not exactly that. They don't rob any money for the employee, and what they collect from the tax income, they send it each month to the administration. So then you got many items like social security, retirement pension, health insurance, life insurance, etc. You got many items. Later on, if you like, I could share a kind of sample payslip that just to give you an idea that you could share with your with your clients and prospects.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Okay, so just a few sort of key takeaways from today's webinar. So absolutely planning early, structure wisely, Make sure you really understand all the compliance obligations and understand the culture. Lean on the local experts like ourselves
Yeah.
to ensure that you've got a full understanding of expanding into France and every single part of that as well in terms of the compliance and the culture. You know, we know, Matthias, you know more than anybody that France can be complex, but as long
Yes.
as it's done right, then it's super rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah, it is definitely. So you need to plan. You need to plan what you want to achieve. You need the blueprint before starting. Most of the company which want to set up, they start doing it without asking questions. Then they say, "Oh, we can't do that," and then they call for help. But it's already too late. So you
That's
need the blueprint before starting your project, and then you see. And if you're unsure, you always have the UR card to be sure what you're doing,
yes, yeah,
starting and taking time to take the right information before implementing a right entity.
absolutely. Okay, so the services that we can provide to help you plan and prepare for your expansion into France is the full entity setup and any licensing, the full back office compliance, advisory piece, but also implementation and ongoing, HR and payroll, so the full payroll processing, HR from onboarding, offboarding, policies, handbooks, whatever that may look like, accounting and tax services, of course, and banking support, so assistance with bank account setup, and then payments, banking and payment solution as well, and FX services. So the full wraparound back office support services and as well as advisory at the beginning, so we can help you advise, help you to really think about the best solution going into the French markets.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can basically present like a kind of ecosystem of companies which knows exactly what they're doing, and
Yeah.
therefore the potential to implement a company here is a call which is unlighted, where the person knows exactly what he or she is doing. There are no bad surprises because it took the information before.
Yes.
This is the
Yeah.
idea.
Great. So that's the end of the webinar. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Matthias, have you got any sort of final words to say before we close?
No, just welcome to ask any question to Emma or myself. I mean, we're partnering on this, so we'll be happy to help you. And
Yeah,
asking a question is always free, as long as you just ask question. So
exactly
please
that.
feel free to do so.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.